So we built an agent, or I built an agent that would go through all the different cross-checks that we would do as a team back and forth. When I was working for the defense company, we used to call it math checks. We would just create these huge, very large proposals, and then we would actually have to hand that portfolio of work cross-checks, and we would hand it to another analyst and be like, hey, I need a math check. And it could be literally a math check, like you multiply 2 times 2 correctly.
Right.
Or it could be like all the different, the statement is here, the 1099Rs are here. So we did that, and we created an agent that would help ingest all of that and do those math checks for us. It's smart enough to actually bring a human into the loop. So it has increased our ability to ingest and support the advisors, at least in my mind, twofold, right? At least twofold.
Welcome back to Vault of Views, where we help financial advisors see higher, think bigger, and grow smarter. Here's the low view on AI right now. Most advisors are standing on the sidelines, watching the headlines and wondering if they're supposed to be scared or excited. They hear AI and they either freeze or they go chase the shiny new tool for a week and just give up. And folks, that's the low view. React to the noise instead of just owning the opportunity. But you know me by now, it's all about the vaulted view. This is where you bring in somebody who actually does this at institutional levels every single day. Somebody who uses AI to sharpen real investment research and who built an AI agent that runs his back office faster and cleaner. And that's my guest today. Chris Mendoza is the head of research at 15 Equity, a firm with a 25-year legacy of high conviction investing. He started his own RIA, merged it into 15 Equity to focus on what he loves, which is finding great businesses to invest in. And here's the kicker. He's got a Master of Science in Applied Artificial Intelligence from the University of San Diego. Crazy. And that's right here in our own backyard in San Diego. So it's a program that they actually built over at USD before ChatGPT was even a thing. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ray.
Hey, dude. We're going to have a lot of fun today. But before we get into the really cool stuff I'm super excited to talk to you about, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Give us a 2-minute rundown, your whole journey and how you ended up becoming head of investment research at 15 Equity.
Sure. So, at 15 Equity, we like to say that good investing is entrepreneurial, right? So back, a couple decades back, my grandfather was a plumber, but he then turned that into a business. And then my father had an insurance business.
Okay.
And my wife started an education company, and my family has also owned a logistics company. And so I've been around entrepreneurism a lot. And at 15 Equity, we try to think entrepreneurially and what a business owner wants to see. And that's how we look at companies as well, as whole businesses.
Fantastic. Okay. What about like your schooling and everything you did between then? Because it's great to understand where you are right now in entrepreneurial investing with 15 Equity. But I'm really curious for you to share with everybody like your educational background, maybe some work experience, because it's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, I started off, I was in high school, and, I was kind of the kid that took apart the toaster, but sometimes didn't put it back together.
Wait, you didn't or couldn't put it back together?
A little bit of both. I had to tinker a little bit.
Okay, because I was a tinkerer for a little while. I got a bike for Christmas one year, but back then, the cool thing was the handbrakes, right? But not to have where you step back on the pedal and use that brake. So you can ride and you could spin your feet backwards, right? But my bike didn't have the capability, so I'm like, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. Well, long story short, I totally screwed up the bike. I couldn't even put it back together. So that's why I'm sitting here doing a podcast. That's about where my talents lie.
Oh my goodness.
So you were a tinkerer.
Yeah, tinkerer. I started off in essentially power supplies. Helped build power supplies as a manufacturing engineer intern at that time. Delved into aerospace engineering, worked for a very large defense company, moved into fintech, and then investment management, and came here to 15 Equity. Educational, background in finance, aerospace engineering, and a master's in applied artificial intelligence.
So yeah, you're wicked smart. You're basically a rocket scientist that loves AI and manages portfolios according to an entrepreneurial investing mandate.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, at 15 Equity, we love to have different views and different looks at a company. And so our portfolio management team and our investment committee, we all have varied backgrounds. So I think that's a strength when it comes to investing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm obviously biased, full disclosure. I'm also the CEO of 15 Equity. Fortunately, my team's pretty self-independent, and I don't have to do a whole lot of heavy lifting with you guys, but love what you guys do, and you provide a lot of value for a lot of financial advisors and their clients out there. So tell me a little bit about how a research guy with a passion for AI ends up spending his time with financial advisors. Like, how do you do all that?
Sure. So, I mean, I would break it out into two components, right? From the investment side, financial advisors will always ask, what keeps you up at night? What keeps the thesis strong? When it comes to, say, software products or anything new around that area, I will tell financial advisors if I could take that idea and build it over the weekend, which is some things I'll do. I don't think there's a moat there from a software standpoint. But when you think about moats, they can be regulatory moats, they could be network effect moats, you could be the low cost producer type moats. There's very different types of moats to look at. And so that's how I think about it, AI from a investment standpoint, is how are these companies applying AI? In some companies, traditionally where you might not actually think of where they might be using AI, there's some companies that use it in farming that reduces their inventory cost to a couple $1 million, hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think that's really a good thing. From an operational side, when I speak with financial advisors, everyone is looking about how AI might affect their business. And when I was at the University of San Diego, we had built a lot of different, we'll call it prototypes, at different industry levels or different industry silos. But specifically for financial advisors, they're looking at how can I handle more with the same resources that I have. And I think AI can certainly help there.
Yeah, we're seeing it in our own firms and all the advisors that affiliate with us as we speak. It's really interesting. You were telling me, so part of your job at 15 Equity is obviously reaching out to financial advisors, telling your story. But you were telling me about this event you went to, and nobody wanted to talk to you about 15 Equity, but they really wanted to talk shop about how they can run their business more efficiently.
Yeah, so something that 15 Equity does as well is we hold continuing education courses, whether using AI in the investment research process with financial planners or using AI for looking at new different themes that might come out and helping advisors enhance their practices with AI. And most of the time, we're all inundated with different investment themes. But right now, what we see is how do you use the AI to help you in even the smallest pieces? And so I speak with a lot of advisors, and now it's integrating AI into your workflow. How does it speed you up? How does it make you more accurate? How does it test different thoughts that you might have? There's plenty of uses for AI.
And so it's interesting. So you found that the best way for you to add value to financial advisors over the years is to help them with their practice, and then earn the business or earn the right to figure out whether or not the actual portfolio is a fit for their clients.
Sure. So my expertise, we're not an AI consultant in any way, shape, or form. But what I think that does is build trust. right? And our business in financial advising or investment management, it's a business of trust. So when you can help someone out with their business, it just brings a smile to my face too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do this for. I mean, I love it. As you're aware, I mean, my mission is to help 1 million American households with their retirement through financial advisors that follow me on this podcast or join our Quotient Advisor community, or maybe even affiliate with me in one way, shape, or form, whether that's through Quotient Advisor Partners or accessing 15 equity or other strategies that we offer. So it's pretty cool. So when you mentioned your CE courses,
sure,
right? So, and this isn't going to be a free CE class on this episode. We don't want you guys to think that this is what it's all about, but let's dive a little deeper into the types of things you discussed. You mentioned there's 2 different CE courses that you created around AI for advisors. I'd just like to dive in a little deep. Let's give them a sneak preview, and then I'll tell everyone how they can find that.
Sure. So we'll start up at the higher level, because sometimes I get asked, I just used AI for it to act like Warren Buffett and to go choose stocks for me, right? And they'll enter a prompt. What I would say for financial planners, if they're using AI for research, is that you get to use the Socratic method a little bit, right?
The Socratic method.
Yeah. So you could use your thesis. You give it your thesis. And basically say what would have to be true for my thesis to break, right? And so you're asking it the question so that it can look at your thesis in that sense. But a little bit more wording there. We have to remember that LLMs or large language models or frontier models, they're built to simulate, say, Warren Buffett's common and publicly known things. Right, writings. And LLMs will generalize around a lot of different types of data.
And they make assumptions from those generalizations, and then you may end up getting some what they call AI slop.
Right. And so basically what the AI is doing, it's creating a simulation of quote unquote a famous investor. What it can't inherit is the information network of that said investor and that judgment that they have. And AI will speak authoritatively. So that's why I like the Socratic method a little bit, where you're both poking back and forth at one another. And it allows you to get sharper as well.
And so you're talking about this from using AI from like an investment management perspective.
Sure.
All right. So you use this Socratic method, which again is
essentially asking the question to the AI, not to give it you get an output from it, but you're asking it to ask you questions and go back and forth. Essentially have a consultative event with it.
Okay, so walk me through what that might look like. Ask you say, hey AI, ask me more about my investment thesis. Is that
sure. It would be, say at 15 equity or something like that, it would be like, hey, here's my investment thesis for company ABC. And here are the principles under which we're operating. Here are my thoughts around those principles. What about these principles would have to be true for them to fail? Right? So you're stress testing your own thought patterns, and you can have an adversarial kind of conversation.
You mentioned it was more red.
It's like red team, blue team.
Red team.
Yeah.
So that's what they call in like programming world.
Sure, it's used a lot in different things. Just it's adversarial.
Just like challenge me on my thesis, my process to make me better.
That's right. Right. And you can go a little bit further. You can have it, make citations, but you have to be careful there because sometimes the AI will make citations of its own. Right. And so
sometimes they just make stuff up.
It's a 5-year-old that wants to please sometimes.
5-year-old that wants to please. I don't know any 5-year-olds that really want to please. So certainly my kids at 5 were certainly not pleasing mom and dad, running all around doing all those things. So that's one course, right? How to use AI with investment management ideas,
sure,
stuff
investment
like that.
Research.
Investment research. And then what's the other course that you created?
So, well, the other one was simply looking where AI is affecting, the most recent one was the intersection of AI and space. All right. And so that's kind of reaching into the future a little bit of where and how AI can help you look at different themes. But what's important, it doesn't have to be just investment themes. It can be operational themes as well. And that kind of goes into how we talk about AI and operations and different businesses.
Interesting. Yeah, it's amazing that you've been able to create a couple CE courses and make it available for free for financial advisors.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Obviously, he wants to get introductions. Let's just be real. He's in the business of meeting people, but giving first. And I know it took a lot of work for you to create these AI courses. Where can they go find these courses, Chris?
Sure. So if they're part of the community, the Quotient community, they can just, inside of the community, we have an events page, and that, we post when we're having an event locally in San Diego. And we'll put it on our website as well when we're holding one of those events.
Okay, great. So the quick answer is go to the Quotient Advisor community. Check it out. It's quotientadvisor.com. Just register. It's free to join. In there, we're going to post a couple live online events that you can access. We're going to schedule them in September, one of each, something like that. And then Chris does them from time to time, and they're available, and it's free for you to access the community, and it's free for you to access free CE credit. You get CE credits too.
Yeah. So
right?
if you have a CFP, you have to have continuing education hours, and you get a couple from us from doing that too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so there's the plug for the episode. Let's dive a little deeper into AI.
Sure.
So I'm a financial advisor. Client comes to me and says, I've got my ChatGPT. I ran my portfolio through ChatGPT, made me some recommendations. Kind of like them, right? I mean, why do I need you, Chris, when I got ChatGPT?
Sure. So, I think there's two phases, right, with clients where they're in accumulation phase, where they might think it's a little bit easier, even during accumulation or spending phase. Financial planning and financial advisors, I've always thought that it's about 20% of the work. And when someone just talks about, I'm just talking about investments, they're missing all the estate planning, the risk planning, the education planning, all of those things that good financial advisors do that some might miss. And really, when you're feeding that to the AI, when you're only asking a question, it doesn't have the context, right, of you personally. And that advisor that you've spoken to, maybe they're your friend or someone that you've known for a couple of years, they've known your situation for the longest time. Now, don't get me wrong. Good financial advisors actually use AI to help you, right?
Right.
So then this is that goes back into that red teaming, right? Red or blue team. What it really means is that I think different generations expect us as financial advisors to use the technology to help you, right? I don't know of any client that would ever say, don't use a computer, right? This is just the same thing. Use AI to help your clients. And, I think there's just some not misinformation, but just things that need to be educated, that there's much more to financial planning and financial advising than just the investments.
Yeah, I think it's very wise. I mean, robo-advisors came around, call it 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It was supposed to put all of us out of business. And guess what? We're all still here.
That's right.
And now financial advisors are using some of that technology to enhance their workflows and to deliver better results for their clients.
Absolutely.
Right? Not replace us. Same thing with AI.
That's right.
So on the other side of the coin, you have financial advisors. We all have access to Bloomberg, Y charts, you name it, all these different research tools. Now we're plugging it into AI. How does an advisor basically differentiate? Because on the surface, it feels like everyone has access to the same AI. We all have access to the same research. Isn't your output going to be similar to my output? I mean, how do I win with my client when we all basically have access to the same information.
Sure. And so I think this is where financial advisors with their firm, whether they're independent or wirehouse, or it doesn't matter where they are, I tend to look at AI and all the different tools we have access to like a Formula One team. Right? I love Formula One. In F1, they get basically all the same budget caps. They can all choose the same type of tires. They all can choose from 4 different engine makers. We all get to choose from a couple frontier models. We all get to choose from, the Google Docs, the Microsoft Docs of the world, right? We all have those same tools, but really how you plumb them together and tune them is what's going to get your business, you and your client, to go further faster. And so going further faster is, I don't know anyone that doesn't want that. So, further faster might mean a lot of different things. Maybe you retire a little earlier. Maybe you get a little bit less risk by implementing a different financial type of plan. So I think the real benefit here is that with AI, financial advisors can start to take their judgment, their edge, and tune it for their client faster and get them further faster.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you use further faster. I don't even know if you realize that that's kind of the tagline for Quotient Advisor. Go further faster. So
I did not realize.
I mean, I don't know if we made that up or we stole it from somebody, but we help financial advisors go further faster, and obviously AI can help you do that. And so it's like, for my approach within our firm and helping other advisors, the fine tuning part is really in the plumbing that you talk about, right? Is what we've been working on pretty much all year, right? Like building our company brain, right? We're getting the foundation so that we can, in the infrastructure set, so that we can actually use AI with PII data, right? I know I was on a Zoom call with a bunch of financial advisors recently, and they're all challenged. They love their Claude or whatever system that they're using, but they can't plug in PII data into the system. That's a big, huge limitation. The other one is, it's really, those systems really are set up as personal AI tools, even if, and many of them have subscribed to like the Teams or enterprise versions of these, but they haven't really evolved enough to where it's really easy to collaborate with your team members inside these systems. I don't know if you've seen that, but so we've been focusing really on like you mentioned, the plumbing. Right. So how do we build the architecture so that when we roll it out to all of our people, that they're really collaborating, and when one advisor creates an agent that does a certain thing, that they can share it with other advisors so they can leverage each other, and we can grow and expand faster and faster. Yeah.
And that's exactly it, right? And once, if you really drill down into it and you look at your business, right, and using AI to move further faster, that becomes leverage. So for the next financial advisor, for the next new hire, for the next added team member, you don't have to redo everything. The team just goes faster. And
the same thing with the knowledge base, right? So all the intellectual property that you have on your financial planning approach and financial planning concepts, and then you tie into your knowledge base, what you actually executed on behalf of clients. It makes your knowledge base smarter. And then a new advisor comes in, or maybe it's a younger advisor who's a succession partner to an older advisor who's exiting. All their knowledge is captured in the system that the AI can read it, so that they can continue the advice and the process that the original advisor, how they operated, and set expectations for that client. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I'm super excited about it. And knowing you and getting your advice is pretty amazing. Okay, so let's help make financial advisors sound smarter about AI in front of a client, right? So the obvious is obviously, you've got, Anthropic and OpenAI and all these different tech companies and how they're integrating AI. And if you turn on CNBC, it's AI all the time, right? But like you mentioned earlier in the show, the AI is impacting businesses and other industries that aren't necessarily technology-driven industries, right? So help financial advisors kind of connect the dots between AI as maybe our clients may perceive what AI is. And, you got to own these high flyer tech companies to get exposure to it. But in reality, there might be some boring old school companies, blue chip companies that are leveraging AI where you find, especially in your research at 15 Equity, you find real growth opportunities.
Sure. So right now, I would say that the markets are, concentrated around the AI. As when I say concentrated, the AI theme and the market capitalizations. When you look broadly at the applied layer of where companies are applying AI, there are companies that you would traditionally not think are AI, where companies that have farms as part of their inventory. They'll use AI and computer vision to help them manage their farming fields. And what that can do when done and implemented correctly, it could free up, $100 million on your balance sheet. There is a public company that did that. And, but we go back to thinking entrepreneurially and like a business owner. If you were a business owner and all of a sudden you can implement AI, a technology that helps you carry a little bit less inventory, that strengthens your balance sheet, and you might be able to use that cash somewhere else. As a business owner, you want that.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely, and you get a better return on your cash.
That's right, better return on invested capital. And so I think that's where you're going to see a lot of applied AI in the future to physical problems.
So what do you say to the people out there fearing for their jobs right now?
I honestly, I think if you fear for your job, you should learn AI so that you can be more central in your organization, and it can help you take more on. Again, from a business owner's standpoint, if you want to produce for your firm, and that when you produce for the firm that you work for, I don't know any company that wants to let go of people that are producing good for them.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been using AI for quite some time now. My workload hasn't diminished.
Right.
It's increased. I'm operating at above capacity right now. Talking like 4 hours of sleep, every day. But I'm getting like, I would say 10x, but it's got to be way more than that output. It's insane. How does someone like me do this, do all my social media, run 7 companies? Crazy. Get nominated for a big award and have to go through that whole process and all that stuff while managing a family and travel. And AI has been helping me do all that stuff. It's insane. So, I feel like it's a productivity booster for employees. And you're right. There's a certain level of knowledge that everyone needs to acquire. But once you're in, it's like a self-improving loop, right? Because you don't know, ask the AI.
That's right.
Like that's a cheat code, right? Mm-hmm. Like I was just meeting with a young financial advisor upstairs about an hour ago. And I said, hey, this is all you need to do. You just need to start. You need to start, and then you just say, hey, whatever your AI platform is, explain this to me as if I'm in the 7th grade. Start there. That's right. And then you build on it. And then you use that to like educate yourself on anything. Hey, you want to learn I want to integrate this with my personal task management system. How do I do that? Right? I want to build this really cool dashboard for my boss. How do I do that? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden now you're a coder, and now you're a workflow optimizer. It's insane. One person with AI can pretty much do anything.
One person with AI can actually have a productivity explosion. And really where that explosion happens is because you just get more excited of I can, right? And that I can do more faster, and that self-reinforcement loop just keeps getting faster and faster, which again, further faster.
Yeah, I love what you said about I can. It's a fantastic mental lift, right? If you're ever in a position where you're down on yourself or whatever, and that negativity starts to come out, I mean, the AI, you go in there and you just start asking it questions, and then you start creating. The first time I created software and deployed it, Chris, I had no idea. I didn't know what Versal was and Supabase and I had no idea. The AI walked me through everything. Vision OS. I vibe coded that for our advisors free in the community, right? Why am I not charging for it? Because I did it myself. I didn't have to pay a big development team and spend a year doing it. You know, it's about speed to market and everything. But I never thought in a million years that I would be able to deploy a web app.
Yeah.
It's insane, which means anybody can do anything with AI. And it's that I can do positivity that excites me the most for our larger community.
1,000%. You know, again, further, faster, I can, and using AI to help you in whatever you're doing. I think it'll give you a lot of different surprises in that.
Okay, so selfless plug time. We talked a little bit about 15 equity. You mentioned moat a little bit. I mean, how does that all come into the equation into the kind of investment process that we have over at 15 Equity, Chris?
Sure. So, you know, when you're looking at we'll talk about a moat specifically. You know, again, going back to that red team, using AI in our investment process, you can have your investment thesis. You can think about the low cost provider or whatever that moat might be, and then you're going to test. We'll call it. Well, in more investment parlance, what's the short vector? You know, how could this thesis break apart and all of a sudden it's more of a short candidate than not that we do any shorting.
No.
But, you know, basically what is going to break your thesis, right? And so you're constantly testing what could be in the moat. Or is the moat wide enough so that it's not being assailed by anything? Interestingly enough, you know, what keeps me up at night, what keeps a thesis I guess from falling apart per se is, you know, sometimes in the private markets, you know, it's like a couple of guys or a couple of gals, they're just working in their garage on something, and all of a sudden they come out with something crazy. And I kind of like to, you know, think about what's happening over there, and sometimes. So
now you mentioned you like to tinker a lot, right? You build stuff over the weekend. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. If you can recreate some software with AI and they don't have any sort of proprietary data set or anything like that, right? There's no moat.
Right.
And that's one of the things that you kind of think through your process.
Yeah. So sometimes in software, you know, if a company is coming out with a piece of software, it has to be more than just the software, right? Because even the largest companies can quickly copy it. Right? They can quote unquote vibe code it themselves, right? Really, you know, how are they going to deploy that software into what installed base they might have? That's really the true mode. So if I could go create it, that's great, but then I have to think about what's the delivery mechanism, right? And so it has to be more than just software. You know, interestingly enough, if you're going to create something with physical AI, something like it's big right now, is robotics and healthcare. You know, how do we take care of our society? And I think that might be another theme that's coming in the next 5 years. That'll be much harder when there's hardware involved, right?
Yeah.
And then proprietary data sets absolutely is a mode as well.
I think it's gonna be really interesting to think about AI talking to a 3D printer and then like physical goods just happening and showing up.
Oh, absolutely.
Like right now, you see people online. You know, I follow a lot of these influencers or whatever, and they go to bed and they say, "Hey, AI, create me something kind of cool, you know, for me to, you know, look at in the morning." Mm-hmm. And that's a simple prompt, and their AI just starts coming up with these ideas, and then voila, they got some new app, right? like with connected to like a 3D printer. I mean, you wake up and there's some cool little widget sitting there. Right. I mean, the future's kind of. It's nuts if you just think out a few steps.
Yeah, if you take that a few steps, you know, when we say AI, just to go down a little bit, one level deeper is basically you're going to look at what you're talking about, like talk at AI connected to a 3D printer. You might need multiple agents or multiple specialist AI there, right? You'll need a CAD designer, but that overall AI is like, hey, I need to redesign this cup, right? And it will call up an agent that's maybe a specialist in computer-aided design, and it'll make that cup, and you'll go consultatively back and forth. So what type of liquid should it hold, and so on and so forth. And then it'll feed that to the 3D printer, and then it'll just start printing for you. And I think the world of physical AI in the next couple of years is just going to be very, very interesting. Whether it's for small objects to very large objects.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so, dude, we need some street cred. So you've been talking about AI and all this stuff, a little bit of theory. We know you're wicked smart. We know you've got your big degree in AI and all that stuff. Tell us about a situation on how you have actually implemented AI to improve a process.
Sure. So, at our firm at 15 Equity, when we help advisors onboard clients into our strategy, one of the things that we have to do when we ingest client data and statements and things of that nature, we go through our own compliance checklist and risk tolerances and all of those things. So we built an agent, or I built an agent that would go through all the different cross-checks that we would do as a team back and forth. When I was working for the defense company, we used to call it math checks. We would just create these huge, very large proposals, and then we would actually have to hand that portfolio of work, cross-checks, and we would hand it to another analyst and be like, hey, I need a math check. And it could be literally a math check, like you multiply 2 times 2 correctly.
Right.
Or it could be like all the different, the statement is here, the 1099Rs are here. Yes, this is a beneficiary IRA, and it should be, depending on what type of distribution it should have. Should it go across 10 years, and what those calculations should be. So we did that, and we created an agent that would help ingest all of that and do those math checks for us. And then it's smart enough to actually bring a human into the loop, right? So we've been testing there. And so it has increased our ability to ingest and support the advisors, at least in my mind, twofold, right? At least twofold.
You're being conservative. I think you just said twofold for the show. Behind closed doors, it was like, well, I really think it's like 10x, but I don't really want to say that publicly. So, it was more like threefold. And he just went twofold on you guys. I just want you to know I'm calling you out. Okay. So it's interesting. So you talk about the math check and the cross check and the math check. We were talking at one point about the multiple agents, right? And doing like kind of bite-sized chunks of a process. So let's leave everybody with your advice on, because we have advisors across the board on AI, people that haven't even started using it to, they're already building their own agents, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm at the stage of building my agents, like, what's some advice that you can give a financial advisor?
I would say if you're creating an agent workflow is to break down each piece into small chunks so that when it fails, you can actually diagnose where it failed. And it makes it so much easier when you do that. When you give little pieces or little jobs to agents, a single agent, a specialist. And what's very good about having a digital agent or a digital workforce, augmented workforce, typically you can then take a couple of tasks and make that a digital job on its own. And then all of a sudden, your humans in the loops are actually managing those agents.
Interesting. Yeah. So bite-sized chunks, when it fails, not if, but when. That's right. I love that perspective because, it just is what it is, right? They get a mind of their own. Is that because the context of each job is smaller and there's less room for error? Is that why, or why not just create one big agent for the entire process?
Yeah, it's part memory. Like, if a large language model is based as a neural network, like just like our own brains, there's only so much we can hold in our own heads as well, right? And so an LLM, all the greatness, and everyone talks about its memory, right? So when you give a bite-sized chunk to an agent, it can very narrowly focus on just doing that task. And so it's easier to, make sure it's right. But if the system breaks down, it makes it easier to diagnose as well, right?
Love it. So bite-sized chunks. You're talking about like basically stacking agents on top of agents. So one agent hands off the next task once it's done to the next agent,
Yep.
and so forth and so on until the task is done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get the results the right way, then you know where you need to fix it.
Yeah, basically.
It doesn't quite make me an AI expert, guys, but that's pretty great insight. Hey, I encourage you all to get to know this guy, right? Even if you never invest a penny with 15 Equity, he's such a great resource to just have and to know to ping. They can ping you with email or whatever. Yeah. And then you obviously through your network, you know all these fantastic AI engineers. I mean, these are like top echelon type people that you can probably point people to if they wanted to work
100%.
with them. And so it's all about helping you guys in this journey because we want to help more people. And that's how you help me achieve my mission of helping 1 million American households. And I'll tell you the best way to get to know Chris is register for the Quotient Advisor community.
Yeah, come out.
Sorry, that's the bourbon. That's the bourbon that just kind of hit me there for a second. It's free. You know, you got nothing to lose. Go in there, find the listing for his free CE courses on AI. There's 2 of them. They're going to be in September of 2026 this year, right? And we'll continue doing those. And that'd be a great way to get introduced to Chris, maybe take a look at 15 Equity, and also collaborate with some of the other financial advisors within the community too. So check that out. Chris, thanks for joining Vaulted Views. This has been really fun.
Thanks for having me, Ray. It's always fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
And so, financial advisors, let me just leave you with this. The low view on AI is to treat it like a threat or a toy. Freeze up or chase the shiny thing for a week and quit. React to just the noise. But the vaulted view, you do exactly what Chris does. You start with your own thesis and your own judgment, and you use AI to stress test it, sharpen it, and speed it up. You let it red team you, and you remember that the one thing the machine will never have is that decade of relationships and the context you've built with your client. And that's your moat. Chris Mendoza, he's the head of research at 15 Equity with a 25-year legacy, investing in high conviction positions, and a guy who genuinely practices what he preaches. Growth at a reasonable price because value and growth are attached at the hip. 3 things before we go. Head to RayLuciaJr.com for resources and to connect with the show. If you want to get to know Chris, please register for one of his free live CE courses on AI. Come join us inside the Quotient Advisor community and check out the events page where we've got sessions coming up in September already on the calendar. And you can reach Chris directly at chris@15, that's 15equity.com. If this one resonated, please share it with another advisor who's trying to figure out where AI fits in their practice. So stay elevated, stay strategic, and stay vaulted. I'll see you guys in the next episode.